Ringo's crystal ball at the University of Virginia released its first look at the 2024 presidential battleground last week. Here is their map. Take a look. That's 260 electoral votes leaning or likely for Democrats, 235 leaning or likely for Republicans, and just 43 spread over 4 states that are toss-ups in Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia. The simplest takeaway here, the 2024 election is likely to be very close and decided by a small number of voters in a small number of swing states. Now, before I go any further, it's worth noting here that A, the election is in about 500 days. B, we don't know the identities of the nominees yet. And C, we have no idea what the national political climate is going to look like. So, take all these predictions with a bit of a grain of salt. But still, I think the map is a very good place to start when we talk about the 2024 race, and the high likelihood that the race is going to be very, very close. Remember that in 2020, Joe Biden won the Electoral College 306 votes to 232 votes over Donald Trump, which was a somewhat convincing victory. But also remember that a number of states were extremely close, and had a few flipped to Trump, he might have wound up in a second term. So Biden won 4 states by a single point or less: Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Had Donald Trump won all 4 of those states, he would have taken 288 electoral votes and won a second term. Trump could, in fact, have been reelected if he had only won 3 of those states I mentioned: Pennsylvania, Georgia, and either Wisconsin or Arizona. Now, polling is scarce in individual states at this point, but you have to assume that all 4 states I just mentioned are likely to be very close again come 2024. And a quick look at each state shows why. Let's run through them. Arizona. Joe Biden won by less than 11,000 votes out of more than 3.2 million cast. The state has 1 independent senator and 1 Democratic senator. The governor is a Democrat. In 2022, Senator Mark Kelly, a Democrat, won with 51% of the vote. Georgia. Joe Biden won by 12,000 votes out of almost 5 million cast in 2020. The state has 2 Democratic senators, and the governor is a Republican. Senator Raphael Warnock, a Democrat, was reelected in a runoff with Herschel Walker winning with 51% of the vote. Pennsylvania. Joe Biden won by 80,000 votes out of almost 7 million cast. The state has 2 Democratic senators, and the governor is a Democrat. In 2022, Senator John Fetterman flipped a Republican seat to Democratic, winning with, stop me if you've heard this before, 51% of the vote. Then there's Wisconsin, where Biden won by 20,000 votes out of more than 3.2 million cast. The state has 1 Democratic senator and 1 Republican senator, and the governor is a Democrat. In 2022, Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican, won re-election with 50.5% of the vote. Now, national polling also affirms the likelihood of a very close race, presuming the nominees are Trump and Biden. At the moment, Real Clear Politics gives Trump an average lead of under 1 point over Biden in its polling average. All of this is to say that in spite of everything happening with Trump, that's false election claims, January 6th, 2 indictments with the possibility of more on the way, he remains a decidedly viable general election candidate in 2024. Now, I've said before that I think, and I still believe this, that Trump is the weakest of the potential Republican candidates because of his problems with independents, women, and voters who live in the suburbs. But I think the closeness of both polls and early electoral college prognostications highlight an undertold story of this election: the weakness of Joe Biden. Biden's approval ratings are stuck in the low 40s. His approval on the economy, despite his recent speech touting Bidenomics, are even worse. Large majorities of the public don't want him to run again and believe he is too old to serve in the office that he is seeking. In short, Biden is a very weak Democratic presidential nominee. In fact, I had one longtime Democratic consultant tell me recently that his side is praying Donald Trump wins the Republican nomination because they don't believe that Biden can beat any of the other potential Republican nominees, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So what? This is a Republican nomination very much worth having. Even if Trump is the nominee, we are likely looking at a nip and tuck race in the Electoral College, with a very small number of swing states and swing voters in those swing states deciding the next president.